Hi friends, my name is Bhavya Mangla. I'm IATF qualified auditor doing audit for the automotive sector for the last 18 years. I'm again back with a very interesting topic. What exactly is organization knowledge? Well, if we look around ourselves in our families, when we are surrounded by our parents, grandparents, life is comparatively easy because there are so many decisions, so many things, so much of information that we get from them. But when they are not with us, then we actually realize that what kind of information or knowledge that we were regularly getting from them, now which we are missing, and we are not able to find out that how to take a decision and how to find a solution to a very simple problem also. Something similar happens in an organization atmosphere also, where knowledge is very important. If you go by the definition of competency, it's a combination of two things, knowledge and skill. So primarily knowledge is a subset of competency, for which I am going to talk about it. So in this particular video, I am going to talk about the purpose of organization knowledge, then about PDCA cycle through which we can understand this organization knowledge. Then I am going to talk about two key sources of knowledge, internal source and external source. Then we will take an example of an industry to understand how we can identify this organization knowledge. And in the last, I am going to talk about the key challenges that industry is facing. So let's start with the first one, that what exactly is the purpose of knowing or identifying the organization knowledge. So the first and the foremost important thing is that the knowledge helps us to understand about the changing business environment. If you look into clause number 4.1, which is talking about understanding the organization and its context, it's very important to know about that because the things are changing very fast in the industry. Then the second thing is about understanding what are the changing customer and relevant interested parties' needs and expectation. Again, it has a link with ISO 9000 and IATF. Clause number 4.2 about understanding the needs and expectation of interested parties, that how the things are changing. Now we are talking about just in time, we are talking about shortening the design cycle, and there are so many things. So we need to understand about that. Then the third is that we need to regularly upgrade ourselves, to change ourselves. So clause number 10.3 comes into picture about continual improvement. And then it's very important for top management to know that what are the latest industry trends, what are the changes which is happening, so that management can take a decision and then other things can happen. So we are talking again about clause number 9.3 about management review. And lastly, most important thing is that how effective is the communication and documentation process in the organization with respect to the organization knowledge, because that again is very important to ensure that the knowledge remains within the organization. Now let me talk about organization knowledge in the form of PDCA, plan, do, check and act. So when we talk about planning, primarily our intent is to understand that how do we understand that what kind of knowledge which is necessary, and this knowledge can be with respect to conformity of the product and services. It could be with respect to the customer expectations, their requirements, especially with respect to the production and with respect to the service. And another thing could be that what is the plan with respect to identifying that what objectives or what are the business goals that organization is planning to achieve by providing maybe on-job training or classroom training or maybe e-learning. Then comes point number 2. Then here we are talking about how we can maintain the existing knowledge that the organization is having. So say if an organization is having maybe 100 employees, and if an average age or of employees who are working in a company is 5 years, so it means the organization has a knowledge bank of 500 years. So how to maintain that particular knowledge bank? So maybe what one organization can do is to make sure that people who are working in the organization, they make some records, they make some procedures, they make some work instructions wherein all the knowledge can be imparted there. Maybe some on-job training, classroom trainings can be there, so that that particular knowledge is imparted to all the relevant persons. So even if a person is leaving the organization, it's not going to impact the organization in different ways, and there can be many other ways which can be done with respect to that. Then comes point number 3. So here we are trying to understand about comparing the changing needs and the trends with the existing organization knowledge. So it's important to understand that what are the new knowledge which is required, so that can be gained with the help of trainings. Then maybe when we are interviewing new people, when you are getting new people on board, at that time we can identify that what exactly is a market requirement, and then this particular person whom we are interviewing, whether that person is fulfilling to that requirement or not. Maybe organization can identify the opportunities for improvement, and there can be some other things which organization can do. So that brings the fourth and the last point in the PDCA cycle. What actions organization can do with respect to getting the additional knowledge. So maybe the client or maybe the organization can enhance their relationship with their customers, with the suppliers and the other service provider. Maybe they can improve the mechanism for keeping their organization knowledge secure. Maybe they can have some other mechanism to ensure that whatever knowledge is there, that remains protected. Nobody can take away that, maybe by filing some patents, maybe some in-house training, and there can be many more things which the organization can do just to make sure that the knowledge remains within the organization. Now there are two key sources of organization knowledge: internal source and external source. So when we talk about internal source, primarily our intent is to understand that organization has a lot of intellectual property. The people who have worked in the organization for so many years, so they know in and out about the organization, about the customers, how to deal with the customer, how to deal with the suppliers, how to deal with the workers. So that knowledge is very, very important. So it has to be retained in different ways. Then the knowledge which is gained from experience and by different ways. So maybe with the help of mentoring and coaching, organization can retain that particular information. Then another important thing is that whatever successes that organization got or the failures they have got, they need to record all that so that they know what needs to be done for future to maintain the successes and to minimize the failures as much as possible. Then another important thing is that what can be done, especially more with respect to capturing and sharing the undocumented knowledge. So maybe there can be different ways in which the skill of the people can be enhanced so that that knowledge can remain within the organization. So these are different ways in which the in-house, the source of organization knowledge can be retained. Then the second point here is outside the organization, that how the organization can make sure that the knowledge can be captured from the outside sources. So again, there can be different ways with respect to that. The first one is the knowledge can be got from maybe the conferences, by attending the trade fairs, network seminars, and maybe the external events. Maybe the knowledge can be captured from the customers, suppliers, and the partners. Maybe by doing the benchmarking with the competitors. Like there are so many ISO standards and other international standards, they can also help the organization to identify that. And then certainly there are so many research papers, webinars, and the conferences that can help the organization to do that. So let's take one simple example to understand about the organization knowledge. So let's assume that there is an organization which is tier 1 to an automotive company and they are doing the product design. So let's understand about the organization knowledge process. So the first point is that what knowledge is necessary. So maybe the knowledge is required with respect to the design software, project management, costing, legal requirements. Then the second point is how this knowledge can be maintained within this organization. So maybe with the help of documented procedures, work instructions, training materials, skill metrics, training records, that can be done. How the organization is making these information or the knowledge available to the people. Well, it can be through internet, it can be through hard copy, or maybe there can be some different ways which the organization can employ. The fourth question is about that are there any changing needs and the trends and how the organization is going to come about that. So for example, the changes are happening with respect to the technology. IoT, we know a big thing these days, Internet of Things. Then artificial intelligence, people are talking a lot about electrical vehicles. Traceability has become a very, very important requirement. Then maybe any new design softwares, e-waste policies, and there can be so many things. Then the next question is that what additional knowledge is required in case there is a changing trend and how it can be acquired. So maybe the knowledge can be acquired by different trainings about the legal requirements, about latest technology, about the government policies, by giving training to different people about the new design software, and all those things can be done by the organization. Then the last question is what about the updates which are required by the organization. So it's important for organization to get the latest update, what is happening in the market, about the changing customer expectations, about the government policies coming in the 10 years, and there can be many more things which can be done. And lastly, what are the industry challenges with respect to the organization knowledge? The first and the foremost is that how often the top management is interested to know that how much knowledge bank they have and what to do with respect to so that it can be retained within the organization. The second important thing is that if the organization identifies that what are the different sources of knowledge, internal source and external source, and how they make sure that these sources always remain active so that the knowledge is always getting updated within the organization. And the third and the most important thing is how the organization, especially the top management, ensures that a person with experience of so many years remains with the organization, because that's comparatively more easier rather than getting a person from outside and starting from the scratch. So if I do a summary, I talked about competencies, why the knowledge is important for the organization, what is the purpose behind that. Then we talked about PDCA with respect to organization knowledge. And what about internal and external source of knowledge? Then we discussed about one example. And in the last, we talked about some industry challenges. Well, my next topic again will be in this particular series, where I'm going to talk about the difference between coaching and mentoring. Well, regularly I'm getting a lot of feedback from your side and they are helping me to understand your expectations. So please do continue that. And in case you want to understand a little bit more about this particular video, you'll find a link below. If you click that, you'll find a blog there. And there you'll find this information in much more detail. And in case you're liking these kind of videos and blogs, you can always share with your friends and colleagues, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and my website, bhavyamangla.com. Thank you.